Hi, my name is Priya. I'm a portrait photographer based in Birmingham. I've been doing photography for about 4 years consistently, but I'd say the last year was when I really sort of took it to the next level and was just consistent from the start of the year. And in terms of what photography I like to do is mainly portrait. I did start with kind of more scenic architectural photography when I was younger, but then I've kind of veered more towards the portrait because I enjoy faces. I love capturing people's emotions and sort of unusual features of people. And yeah, I think that's kind of where my drive for my creativity comes from, is like connection and just, yeah, connecting with people. And I think through people's faces and people's eyes, you can kind of see a lot of emotion from that, and like a lot of things that they may not be revealing. And I kind of aim to have that more compassionate kind of side through my photography, through kind of people. Hopefully if people look at my work, they kind of feel, ooh, there's like a warmth there, or there's like an emotive, a feeling that they get from my portraits. So that's kind of where I get my inspiration from people and connection, really. So yeah. Superpower that I would really love to have as a photographer would be having my photos retouched in like with the click of a finger. It's just because I enjoy the sort of color grading side, that side I really enjoy, but the photo retouching in Photoshop is like quite tedious. Sometimes I can enjoy it, but the majority of the time I like to get that done quickly. So if I could have a superpower for it to be done like that, exactly the way I would like it, that would be great. And then I can focus on the colour grading, which I enjoy because it's kind of like how I bring the photo to life by creating different hues with the lighting and the colours and stuff. So I'd love if the retouching could be done quickly. Hi guys, so I'm going to be going through my must-have items and what's in my camera bag. So starting off with my oldest piece of equipment. This is the Pentax Q10 camera. Cute little case, and this was the first camera that I ever had when I was like 13. Yeah, it's a very cute camera, and it has a, what's this, a 15 to 45 lens. I had a bunch of lenses as well when I didn't buy it. My parents got it for me because they were like, oh, you like photography, and they were like, let's get you a little camera. And yeah, I took some great photos with this. This is the camera that I did more of the scenic kind of experimental photography of, just kind of taking photos of like the rain on the window or my dog, or just kind of little bits around the house that I thought were kind of cool to capture. So this, yeah, I don't really use it as much now, but it's a great camera, and what I really like about it is it has a really cool pop-up flash, which is great. So this just has a special place in my heart because it's my first camera, and I love it. I love the case, and it's cute, and it's so lightweight as well. So maybe I should take this around. It's a bit easier to use if it's lightweight. So yeah, that's the Pentax Q10, which I love. Then I have, oh, my must-have. Whenever I have a portrait shoot, I always bring my reflector. Now, this is such a nightmare to close, but here we go. See the beautiful glow that it gives. But this is just so great, especially when you're dealing with natural lighting, but also good in studio settings. So this is a must-have, but this is going to be horrible to close. See, you'd question my professionalism by trying to close this, so we're just going to leave it as is. But this is another must-have of mine. Another thing, obviously, I've literally shown everything but a camera that I use, but this second camera is my Rebel T3i. This is the camera that I bought when I really was like wanting to pursue photography more, and I've taken some really nice portraits with this, with a 50mm lens is how, like, my first setup that I used. So yeah, has another special place in my heart because I just can't part ways. I don't really use it very much now, but yeah, it's just there as like a souvenir of how I started photography really, so that's another favourite. And then the camera that I currently use is another Canon. I am a Canon girl. I don't know if I'll ever part ways with Canon, but this is the Canon 80D, and this is what I currently use now, and that's with the nifty 50mm lens. And this is a great camera. I do want to upgrade, but it does the job for now, and the lenses that I have just really do the job really, despite the camera being maybe not as kind of high end in terms of like professionalism, but I feel like my eye is good enough, and I feel like you don't always need the most expensive gear to get like the perfect shot, because it's like your vision that you bring to it. But I would say the lenses are important, and that's why I have a good 50mm, and yeah, I like that for portrait shots, and even for video content it's nice. So that's my main camera. And then in terms of lenses, I have a 35 without a lens cap. I wouldn't recommend, make sure you know where the lens cap is, because that's not good. But this is the 35mm Sigma lens, which is like my go-to lens for everything. Yeah, with a lens hood as well. So when it's sunny, or even in a studio setting, just pop that on and it creates a nice like vignette around the photo. But yeah, this is my go-to lens. This is the lens I bring everywhere. This is also good for like concert photography as well. I recently did a shoot because it's 1.8. Oh no, it's 1.4. So it lets a lot of light in, and it creates a nice bokeh as well around, which I like in my photography. I kind of like it when the background is blurry and it just kind of really centers the person, and it kind of brings your eye to the person in the photo. So I love that for portrait photography. That's my go-to. And then a recent purchase, which I absolutely love, is this cool flash dome. Oh wait, let me pop it open if it wants to pop open. There we go, there we go. This is so cool. Like, I love this. I have a newer flash as well, which I'll show you in a second, but I recently bought this, and it's just so great for like event photography, especially when you don't have anything like a white ceiling above to kind of bounce light off. This is just perfect, because even if you're in a dark sort of lit and all the walls are dark coloured, you can still have a nice like light on your subject, and it just creates a really nice soft light, very natural. But obviously like club settings or nightlife photography, it's really, really great for that. This is my most recent purchase, and it's so good. And then I also have a flash that I was mentioning, a newer flash. So yeah, this is my flash. Very self-explanatory really, but it's great. It's really essential to have a flash, especially when you're like doing more event stuff. I purchased this when I started to do more event photography, and this was really, yeah, this was a really good purchase. Definitely a must-have. And you can also use this as well for like off-camera flash. So handy, another must-have. I don't bring this on every shoot, but if I have an event photography or a location shoot and I'll be shooting a little bit later when the sun goes down, I make sure to bring these two with me just in case I need that extra little bit of light. So what else do I have? Ooh, I have quite a funny thing here. This is a sock, but you know, we always have weird things that we put our cameras in, but it's very good for protecting the camera. And this camera is something that I bought the start of the year, and it's just, oh god, this is awkward. There we go. It's my film camera. So it's a Canon A1 film camera. I haven't used this much because film photography scares me a little bit, but yeah, the photos that I've taken with this so far have been quite nice, but I use this more for kind of like the scenic style photography, although I would like to use it more for portraits, but just to kind of get the hang of it, I've been using it for more like architectural street photography, and it's got a 24mm lens, which is quite a wide lens, so it's good for those kind of shots. So yeah, this is another not necessarily a must-have as of yet, but it's just something that I love to use when I get the time to like just experiment and do photography for fun as opposed for like client work. Another must-have, obviously, because without these you won't be able to do anything with your camera, is batteries. So I have obviously one in my camera that I charge up before a shoot, and then I have 2 extra ones that are also charged up that I can make sure that I can replace if my camera dies. Especially for event photography, I feel like my camera dies a lot easier, a lot quicker, because I'm using flash that just takes up all the battery in my camera. So I always make sure I've got a few more batteries there. And also SD cards. Like, I feel like I have a lot less SD cards than the average photographer, but yeah, I always bring extra SD cards with me just in case, because you never know how many photos you're going to take and you don't want to run out of space, so that's important. And then another thing I have in my bag that I tend to bring with me are my business cards, because you never know where you're going to be. Usually studios, or sometimes studios, have like a little area that you can pop your kind of like business cards and stuff like that, so I always have those with me, and then it's just kind of nice just to give them out maybe to your clients, just to look more professional, and it's just nice to have something for them to take away as well, like that's like got your name on it and kind of photos, so I have those with me as well. Bag talk. Hi guys, I'm going to be talking to you about a few of my pieces of work and the inspiration behind them, how I came about to shoot them, and all the kind of things that I thought about before doing them, so things like styling and stuff. So firstly, I have some prints here of one of my kind of very first portraits that I took. It's one of my favourites, of a beautiful model, Ivana. And so for this one, this was kind of like when I was first starting out with photography, and I kind of wanted to do something really simple and effortless. So I kind of, well, I just ordered some gloves off Amazon. I have them right here actually, let me show you. So just some kind of simple gloves. Well, not simple, but extravagant gloves, which are kind of cute. And I just kind of asked the model to wear something really simple, so a black dress, and then we kind of accessorized with the gloves. So it kind of adds a little bit of something, but it's not like overpowering to the point where it takes away from the portrait, but it just adds a little something extra. And I think this was in spring when we did this shoot, and it's in Cannon Hill Park actually, and I kind of found this willow tree, and it was kind of shining the light through the leaves, and I thought that's a really nice way to use lighting. So I kind of just had her put the gloves on and kind of experiment with the light. So sometimes it's good to have different accessories for models, especially like with hands, because I feel like it kind of forces them to be a bit more experimental with their poses. So another kind of thing that she did was really cool, kind of covered her eye with one of the gloves. So it kind of like forces them to be more creative as well. So that's another way to kind of style your model, but also have them be more fluid and stuff. And yeah, I really liked how this came out. It's probably one of my favourite portraits. And yeah, really like this. So I would say when you're starting out photography, I'd advise to kind of go simple. Don't try to do too much with makeup, or, I mean, unless that's your style. As a photographer starting out, I'd recommend kind of simple styling and really simple makeup, or even minimal makeup or no makeup. I just feel like it kind of forces you to be more creative with the poses, with the composition of your portraits, and it doesn't take away from that creativity, if that makes sense, because I feel like when you focus heavily on styling and makeup, you can kind of lose sight of the creative aspect of it, even though that sounds kind of contradictory. But I think that you're really able to push yourself as a photographer when you focus on like simple styling. Even though styling is really, really important, I definitely would say that. But yeah, starting out, something simple, and then using your surroundings as well to create a nice portrait, which is what we did here with the kind of the lighting that was coming through the willow tree, and then kind of incorporated a different kind of style, obviously not a portrait, but like just of her hands, with the gloves, kind of playing with the leaves on the willow tree. So yeah, cool. And then a second portrait that I took, which was kind of about the same time when I captured these, so the start of my kind of photography journey, in a park again. And this one is of my sister. So it's always, you know, don't kind of think that you need like a professional model when you're starting out. Like, you can use your family. You know, use your surroundings to kind of help you be creative. So yeah, so this was a park near where I live in Wolverhampton, and we kind of just experimented again. Like, I was just said, wear something that has like a pop of colour. So she wore a red jacket, a red blazer, and then she kind of put a scarf over her head just to create a little bit more kind of stuff for styling purposes, and then some gold jewellery. And then we just went to a park and I just took photos basically. And this was with a 50mm lens, which is really nice. It's what kind of creates this nice bokeh effect at the back. And yeah, I love this photo. Obviously the fact that it's of my sister as well is even more special for me. So yeah, and in terms of the composition, because it's quite simple with styling, I kind of went towards a tree and I was like, oh, this is kind of nice way to kind of shape the portrait. So I thought that she could sort of rest her head against the bark of the tree, and it kind of created a bit more dimension to the photo instead of just being her and then the background. So that's another thing, is kind of again using your surroundings to create kind of depth in your photo is really good. And again, obviously depending on your style, I like kind of natural lighting and kind of natural makeup when I kind of capture. It depends obviously what it is that I'm capturing. If it's just kind of portrait headshot style, I like to use quite natural makeup and sort of styling for that. So yeah. Then we have another photo. This was for an editorial called Regal Love. So this is obviously a lot more kind of thought out in terms of the styling. I had a whole team, a stylist, makeup artist, and obviously the two models. So we kind of did more thought with this. I feel like with editorials, that's your kind of chance to be really experimental and like have a whole team and one person dedicated to makeup and one person dedicated to styling, and then you can really focus on just getting the shot and kind of creating an environment of ease for your models. So this was kind of inspired by the stylist's culture. The stylist was from Nigeria, so she brought kind of pieces, authentic pieces from Nigeria that were kind of handmade, like these bands and this kind of this fur throw on the shoulder. So yeah, I really like this photo, and it was different for me because this was the first like couple shoot that I captured. So it was a different thing to kind of work with two people, but it kind of pushed my creativity a lot and my ability to kind of speak and communicate what I wanted from my models. So that was really great. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the shoot a lot. And yeah. And then we have my favourite, I think my favourite like piece from 2024 would be this one. So this was actually, a lot of people asked me what camera was this taken with, what film camera, because obviously there's like the film. This is actually on a digital camera. And I just took portraits of her with different facial expressions. It was inspired by kind of a similar shoot that Angelina Jolie did. So we kind of took inspiration from that and then created it our own kind of concept with this. So I took some obviously portraits, individual portraits of Tiara, and then edited them in black and white, and then went into Canva and found like a cool collage, which was like a vintage collage. So if you just type in vintage collage kind of templates, it comes up with like cool film type ones. So I just collated this into a collage and was like, let's use all the different facial expressions and put them in. So yeah, this was really, really fun. And it's also quite a nice concept because it's like for the model as well, it kind of pushed her to kind of be more expressive as well, instead of like doing the most with like the poses with the body. It was like more about facial expressions, which kind of really does speak to my style of photography, which is all about like connecting with individuals and like showing emotion with your face and your features and your eyes. So yeah, I'm really proud of this work, and I feel like it's some of my best work, so I really enjoyed capturing this. And this was actually on a workshop, Divergent workshops. I'd recommend checking them out if you're wanting to kind of connect with other photographers and models, and like just create something that you may never created and push yourself a little bit more. So yeah, cool, done. So a typical shoot day for me, it doesn't start the day of the shoot, it starts the night before for me. So I always make sure that I have my camera bag prepped, all ready to go, or my batteries charged up, or my SD cards packed and empty for the most part, just so that I can make sure I've got enough storage for the next day. So I make sure I've got everything prepped, my outfit, because even though you're a photographer, still gotta look fly, you know, and still just gotta feel comfortable and yeah, at ease as well. So I make sure everything's kind of organised beforehand, the night before, so that the next day when I wake up in the morning, I'm not sort of anxious or have to rush and do all these things. I can just focus on creating a good mood for myself, and yeah, having a good breakfast, having some cup of tea or cup of coffee, whichever I'm feeling in the morning, and I can just get ready peacefully. So that's kind of the beginning, the prep stage of the shoot, and then obviously when the shoot is kind of happening, before that I always make sure I contact the model, contact the client, whoever it is I'm working with, to kind of just touch base, like, you good, everything all good. I even do that the night before as well, or the day before, just to kind of like, yeah, touch base, and ask if they have any concerns, ask if they've got any like anything that they need, I don't know, you know, anything. I just kind of touch base with them before, and then when I meet them, it's just good vibes, you know. I feel like it's important to maintain communication with clients as well, before and after, but obviously mainly before the shoot. And then on the shoot, just make sure that the client's comfortable, and I just play music, whatever the music they want, that gets them in the vibe. So that's kind of like what a shoot looks like for me, obviously depending on what it is that I'm doing. If it's headshots, making sure that everything's set up in terms of lighting in the studio, and then also if it's like a location shoot, just double checking the weather beforehand, making sure I've brought everything I need just in case the weather changes, because we know in England it likes to rain a lot, so so things like that, and yeah, just kind of creating a nice atmosphere, and then once the shoot is done, I think a lot of photographers tend to do this, but I don't actually do it. I don't tend to kind of transfer the photos the same night. I kind of give myself a break, and then I do it the morning after. I don't know why, that's the way I work. I like to kind of leave that and then do it the next day when my mind is kind of fresh, and then I can start anew. But obviously if it's like for event work, which they have like a quick turnover time, I kind of have to do it the same night. But then that's fine, because that kind of work doesn't require as much kind of colour grading and stuff. It's quite like I just use presets that I created and kind of know what I'm doing. But obviously things that kind of require more attention, I like to just free my mind of it and then work on it the next day. So yeah. And in terms of my creative rituals, I'd say like I've kind of covered that in terms of like creating a mental space for myself that's like peaceful and not anxious or not like rushed, because if you know me well, you know that I don't like to be rushed and I can get quite aggy. So yeah, just kind of things like yoga or meditation in the mornings, or just stretching, or just kind of not going on my phone, or not kind of just having a day where it's just silence with me, and then maybe even go for a walk in the mornings before I kind of communicate with the world as much as I can, because sometimes it is hard and tempting to just go on your phone as soon as you wake up. But yeah, just kind of getting out in nature, grounding, and then spending time with people that I love and people that like see me for who I am, and that kind of helps motivate me and just like keeps me going and keeps that belief and that like drive alive for me. And then another creative outlet that I have that helps me, well, I have two, I would say. I'd say poetry and music, singing, but I think poetry is quite like a grounding thing for me, because that's what I've always done since I was younger. Like, that's kind of the creative outlet that I started with, was writing. So if something's there, I'd just write it, or even read over my old poems, which kind of like just make me feel good and make me feel like empowered as well. But then also singing. Before I shoot, I may like wake up in the morning, go in the kitchen while making my breakfast and just have a little sing, and it just kind of grounds me, calms me, brings me back into my body, and like just, yeah. So that really helps. And I think it's also, in terms of music, creating with my voice as opposed to my eyes, if that makes sense. It kind of like strengthens my creativity as a whole. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me anyways, it kind of helps me strengthen my eye for photography, because it's like I'm kind of delving into all these different creative fields in different ways with my different senses, and when I come to photography I can kind of see it in a different way, so it helps me with my creative eye, I'd say. One thing that I wish I knew when I was first starting photography is probably how long it would take. Now that sounds kind of like, yeah, like a bit like negative, but it's actually true. Like, I think it's important to kind of get the idea of like, it might take a lot longer than you maybe think. It's not like a generic thing that you kind of study and then it happens. It's a creative pursuit, so you're always kind of constantly learning and evolving. And then it also takes time to kind of get a network of people that you can work with, that you can kind of connect with and get clients from, or potential clients from those people in themselves. So I think what maybe I wish I knew back then was to kind of enjoy the process, instead of kind of every day kind of thinking, okay, I want to get here, this is and it kind of creates a sense of like an atmosphere of anxiety, and I feel like that stunts creativity and can kind of cause like procrastination. And then I think I faced that a lot when I was like first starting out, was like if a shoot didn't go well, I was like, oh my god, it didn't kind of fit. Like, I had a goal beforehand of doing the shoot and it didn't kind of match the goal that I had in mind, but then I still learned from it. So I think taking each experience as a learning experience and not necessarily as good or bad, something that's just an experience. So I think I'd say that, like, just enjoy the process, because it is a process. It's not like just something that happens overnight. It takes time to build your craft, especially if you're self-taught, because I didn't go to university for photography. It's something that I just taught myself. And learn from other photographers around me and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd say enjoy the process, and yeah, I think also is being willing to kind of learn more. I feel like when I was starting out, I kind of didn't realise there was as much to learn, because I was self-taught. I was like, oh, I can just take a photo and like it looks nice, but there's actually a lot more behind a good photo than people realise. And I think, yeah, just kind of being open to learning a little bit more and not so rigid, and just acknowledging that it may take a bit longer, and if it's something you love, then you know that you can enjoy the process. So yeah. The most underrated gear that I think most people should have is prime lens, but I don't feel like it's underrated. I feel like people just sway more towards zoom lenses because it's more practical. You don't have to keep changing lenses if you want a wider shot or a more close-up shot. It's a lot more practical, but I think when it comes to prime lenses, it's just the best. I love prime lenses for portrait photography. I even use prime lenses for event photography. Obviously it's a little bit more limiting, depending on what you're shooting. Obviously if you're shooting like a wedding, you're probably going to need a zoom lens, because you can't be like changing lenses when there's like a key moment that you have to capture. So I'd say, yeah, it's not really underrated, but I think it's just something that, yeah, you can't really replace. And I love prime lenses. I do need to get a good zoom lens for event photography now that I'm branching out a little bit more. But yeah, prime lenses I think would always be something that would be like in my gear, regardless. So if my photography had a theme song, song, it would be Water by Lauryn Hill. So that's a song from her Unplugged album. And it's just really, it's a beautiful song. It's very kind of ambiguous as well in terms of like the message that it gives across. Like kind of comparing just existence with water basically, but it's kind of giving more spiritual essence to like life and yeah, in general. And I feel like it just really speaks to the style of photography that I do and like the way that I go about my photography, which is like free flowing and like very spiritual for me, because it's the way I connect with myself, with other people, and it's how I keep grounded. So that song, I think, is just really is a good depiction of my work, and yeah, that's what I would say. How do I want my work to impact others? So I would say my work is like heavily focused on connection and bridging connection and having empathy towards other people, and capturing that understanding that I feel like I have of other people. Even though it's a digital kind of practice, I do aim to kind of bring that sense of connectedness with people through my work. So I really just, on the shoot, I really want people to feel relaxed, and and as a result, it gets the best shot out of whatever ones we're taking. So I think for me, it's like just making people feel something, and a feedback that I've had from my work over the years has been my emotive style and how I kind of capture the souls of my subjects and my clients or my models or whoever. So that's something that I would love to keep doing, just kind of making people feel something, and making people feel warm after the shoot if they're just looking at my work, and whilst I'm on the shoot with them in person. So yeah. What's my dream collaboration or project that I'd love to work on? I have quite a few people that I would love to work with in terms of like the music industry, because I work a lot with music artists in general for my love of music anyways, but also just because I love capturing people in their essence and their creativity as well. There's people that I would love to work with, but I think for me it's not necessarily someone that's well known or someone that's like famous or everybody knows, but it's just someone that I feel like I can connect with, and I connect with their music. I feel like I'd also like to just kind of meet and talk to them and create something from that, and just people that have like worked hard at something. I think that's inspiring to me, to be around people that like have been driven enough to kind of succeed in what they're doing, whatever craft that is, whether it's music or painting, or whatever it is. So I think my dream collaboration is just like to work with someone that's really established in their industry, whether that's music again or acting, whatever, because I just love connecting with people, and I'm like fascinated by people's minds and people's creativity and what kind of leads them to get to that place. So I think that would be a dream kind of thing for me to do, is just continuously grow and connect with people that I like, that inspire me, whether they're famous or not. So yeah, that's what I would say.